Open your eyes and let go.
The friend that I'm visiting now is probably one of the most talented producers I know in person. Okay, I'm now in the studio of Justus. He is producing quite a lot for other projects, but you probably can't tell for who.
No, not
but
at the moment.
Can you tell the labels? You got one cool release that I listened to on Armada?
Yeah, on Armada. It came out in December. Yeah.
Nice. Is it performing good?
Yeah.
I heard it.
good,
It's
yeah.
a really cool track, but I can't tell you the artist's name. It's still top secret, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So maybe one day. Done with a very nice and productive session. If you're interested in any mastering, mix mastering, you can write Justus. I will put his email down below and just ask him. He's a really good, talented producer and has a really nice sound.
Okay.
Ciao.
That's good, ciao.
Okay, it's about time to just drive back to the studio. I've arrived at my studio. Today is actually the last day I will work on the remix. All of the mixing is done. I have all of the elements there. The people already listen to the remix, they like it. I just need some certain effect sounds at certain points just to get the transitions right between the certain parts in the song. And I wanted to show you today how to make these kind of effect sounds, how to make them unique and not just use effect sounds from sample packs. They usually sound a bit cheap and don't really fit to the style of my music and probably also not to your style of music. So let's just get started. For example, here at this part I have a chord sound that I kind of want to introduce. So this is what it sounds like right now. And to introduce that sound I usually like just to bounce it out, of course as wave. Then importing the bounce file, then just cutting everything I don't need. And then I double click onto it. This window down here opens up and I can go into functions and then reverse the sound. So now what I got is just the chord reversed. I'm placing it right at the point where the reversed sound transitions into the not reversed sound. And kind of trying to find the right spot where to place it. I usually cut a bit away of the initial sound so that I only have the delay. So this is actually already good. There's just a clicking noise at the end. I use here Logic's function on the side where you just go onto fade in or fade out. Here it's the fade out, of course. And I'm fading it out by maybe 30 milliseconds. And to make it even smoother, I'm adding here a reverb onto the reverse sound. I usually go for a bigger effect kind of reverb. Now let me play you the transition first without the reverse sound in front, so as it was sounding before, and then with it. I can't really play you all of the tracks because some of them are part of the remix and I'm not allowed to play them to you. But I think kick, bass, drums and maybe a pad sound is safe to play to you. And now again with it. This is a very nice and easy way to create suspension, have a rising effect sound that is based on the sound that is coming next and sounds way better than just using a boring white noise that is just filtering up or using one of those sample effect library sounds. You should also try out changing the original sound before bouncing it out and reversing it. Maybe add distortion to then have an effect sound that is distorted followed by a very clear synthi sound, or adding a ton of reverb, reversing it and having a really long rising reverb sound. All of these kind of things, you just can't try them out, be creative and make something unique that fits to your track. The next one is actually extremely simple. I just go into my sample libraries and choose a hat sound or a rim sound or a shaker sound, just some percussion thing that I can then either reverse or just put a ton of reverb on top. And I'm looking here for a simple hat sound that isn't too short, so usually an open hi-hat. By the way, if you have a sample folder, you can choose to sort them by the size. This way you get the longest sounds at the top. So this one should be good to make an effect sound out of it. Also just importing it into Logic and just place it right before a new part in the song starts. So this is what the reversed hat is sounding like now. And here in this case it's introducing the drum sounds, and it sounds a little bit dry, so adding reverb, probably a bigger one. Getting the volume right. Again, just a very simple sound that helps kind of to know that something else is going to be introduced. This time it's like all of the other drum elements, and it just makes everything a bit smoother, gets the transitions right. Let's just do one more, this time a longer effect that you can use in the middle of your break, building up to the end of it to the drop down. So for the effect sound, I will just open up a new software instrument, just drawing in a chord and making it really long. And then I'm selecting a synth. I think I will just go with the Diva. And then you just have to go through some sounds. Sometimes it helps to just directly go into the effect section. You need something that sounds cool and also sounds really cool when you open up the cutoff and close it again. And now it's all about drawing in the automation. Usually change it to touch here in Logic, open up the synth, just let it play and play around. So that's the easiest way to draw in the automation. Then I correct it and just let it fade in. This way you get a sound that is just constantly opening up. Also adding a tiny bit of reverb, bit of EQing to get rid of the really low frequencies. And now, because whenever I just hit here play, I won't hear any of the sound because I have to wait for Logic to pick up the note from the beginning, I would just bounce it out. Now I can delete the MIDI part. Can get really crazy with this kind of sound. You can automate the reverb, you can add distortion, you can, for example, use a ring shifter. That's this little plugin here in Logic, and this is just, yeah, it's hard to explain. Let me just play it to you. So that's kind of cool. That's something you could do. You could also try and just pitch the chord sound. You could also use a little plugin by Sugar Bytes called Tornado. It's doing all kinds of crazy things. I usually just go through the presets, and then you have down here 8 effects that you can open up and close. They do really all kinds of crazy things. Or maybe the slice arranger. Or just one of those very typical EDM start and stop sounds. Of course, whenever you use a chord as a bass sound for an effect, be careful with the things that you play to it. It could clash. You can also, of course, just use a single note. This way you will have more freedom with the things that you can play on top of the effect sound. And I can only recommend you to bounce these effect sounds out and store them in one of your own sample folders. This way you can reuse them on the next track, be a bit faster, and this will also help you to develop your own style that people can recognize again on the next track you make. Because by using these pre-made effect sounds, your track will just sound like everyone else's track. And for example, I myself, when I listen to a track and hear one of these effect sounds, It sounds very cheap to me, and I already know the sound from maybe another track. And especially for bigger producers and DJs, I think it's kind of embarrassing to have to rely on these pre-made effect sounds. It's just so easy and simple to make your own. Okay, but now back to making more effect sounds. These 3 that I made are not enough, and actually the last one I made I don't really like at all. So going back into another synthy sound and trying to create something from scratch. Okay, for today I'm all done. I'm all done with the remix. I already bounced out the pre-master, so I won't have to work on it another day. I hope it will get released pretty soon. And you know, actually there's one more thing where you could help me out. It's a little problem that I have in Logic, and I don't know how to solve it. I don't know if it's a bug or I just have one of the settings wrong. You see, whenever I take a MIDI part and just move it around and leave it, it just stays where I put it. But whenever I press Alt to copy it, then it just jumps back for no reason. I don't know why. Moving works, copying doesn't. I honestly don't know why this is happening. I think it's just a bug, but if anyone of you knows how to get rid of it, please let me know. This is extremely annoying when you just try to arrange a track and copy a bunch of MIDI files around. It's just annoying. Whoa! Wow, that was a big hole.